Did you know you can support the Techology Show when you shop at Amazon.com? Become a friend of the show by starting your shopping at thetechologyshow.com/shop. It's Tuesday, September the 17th, 2013, live from rural Pickens, South Carolina, Techology Studios. I'm Matthew T.G.
I am Heath Mullican.
And I'm Tony Casey. Welcome to the Techology Show, a weekly podcast featuring technology, theology, and everything in between. This is episode 217. So how are things back there in the studio, guys?
Well, there's something on fire in the corner, and your bathroom's flooded. But other than that, everything's okay.
It's a beautiful day here in South Carolina, Tony. This is going to make you happy. We don't have your air conditioning on today.
Oh, it's beautiful. Beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah, I just got the windows open back behind us. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he opened the windows because we were smoking our pipes today.
What?
That's not good.
That only happens. That only happens when we have Donald Miller on the show.
That's right. Hey, a couple of weeks ago, we had Matthew Deprez on, and he was talking about intergenerational ministry, and he has a new book out called Join Generations, and you can get that book as an ebook absolutely free. His website's up now at joingenerations.com. I encourage you to go there, tweet him out at Matthew Deprez, and go and sign up. And then when the book is released, I believe it's released on the 23rd or 24th, they'll send you a link to the book. I've been reading through it, and it's a great thing. So we want to support Matthew and his ministry, and it's free. You can't beat free. Yep. Joingenerations.com.
Hey, listen, so I've just had an awesome weekend. I'm in Wisconsin and spent the weekend in Green Bay. We've had Zach Woodfin on the show a couple times. He's the assistant strength and conditioning coach for the Packers, and he made for myself and Sherry and for Mark Wilson and his wife Kathy just an awesome weekend. And so let me tell you, there's all kinds of highlights. So I'm going to tell you one highlight, and Heath, you will really appreciate this.
Yeah.
Zach told us that he had a place for us to stay. And so he takes us over. Well, the place where we stay, you have to punch a code in to get in. And I looked at Sherry and said, my word, where are we going? Where are we at? And so we get there, and there's this guest house, and he takes us inside. And once we get inside, he says to us, this whole thing here, the big house and then this guest house here is owned by Kabir Kabaja Biamila. And for those of you who don't, that name's not familiar, he set the season sack record for Green Bay. He beat Reggie Wright's record.
Wow.
And so we're geeking out because we're at Kabir's house, and so Mark wants to call his son. Well, he goes to call his son, and his son is not, he says, oh, I'm going to have to leave a message. So I just say, like really smart mouth, well, say something like, yeah, listen, I have to keep this short because, you know, Kabir will probably come over and want to talk to us. You're just kidding.
Yeah.
5 minutes later, there's a knock on the door, and it's Kabir.
Ah!
And he comes in. Dude, he's in his bare feet.
Yeah.
You know, he's wearing shorts, and he apologizes that he didn't come over when we came, but there was a baptismal service going on in the pool at his house.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, and he welcomes us. He asks us to sign his guest book.
Oh, wow.
And he prays with us, and it was just surreal. And I could tell you just little stories all weekend long, and just a big shout out to Zach Woodfin and Fawn Woodfin. They treated us like kings and queens, and just a huge thanks to them.
So I didn't get a chance to crop it before I show it here, but I have the picture that you sent me of the house that I'll put up here for everybody to see.
Yeah, and all the way to the left there, Heath, that's where the guest house is. So we stayed in the guest house to the left, and he has a full court basketball in his home, and then he has a full-size pool in his home as well. And the crazy thing is that small guest house is where they lived while the big house was being built, and they were going to tear it down. And he said he and his wife felt like the Lord was saying, no, don't tear that down. Renovate the guest house. So they've made 3 suites. They keep it for pastors and missionaries, and they just let them stay there free.
So we know where we're going this weekend.
Sign us up. So Tony, tell us about one of my regrets in life. I was at church one time, and this guy could get authentic NFL jerseys. And the year they had the Lambeau patch on the Green Bay jerseys, I wanted to get a Favre jersey with that Lambeau patch. So tell me, what was it like, Lambeau Field, Green Bay Packers? Tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. The nice part about the field was not really the day of the game, but Saturday, Zach took us down. And so you could take your time. I got some great panoramic shots. By the way, just a shout out to the iPhone. They have the where you can go to your photo app and do the pan. Yeah. And it was great. I got some great shots that way. It was awesome walking down the tunnel to think Bart Starr, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, Clay Matthews. He also got us into the player reception after the game, but you can't take pictures, you can't ask for autographs. Yeah. So I was just standing around. A.J. Hawk was there, Clay Matthews was there. The rookie, I can't even think of his name right now, the rookie who got the interception that day, Sherry was sitting at the table with him. He was still holding his football, and it was so great to hear him talk because it was just so human. He said, yeah, man, he said, I just looked up, and there the ball was, and so I just grabbed it.
Yeah. That's great, man.
So, awesome weekend. And, Zach has been such a great friend to the show to come on and give us interviews, and I anticipate we'll have him in the future. So, I just really want to give, he and Fawn props for just a wonderful weekend.
Yeah, I mean,
at least he's been a friend to one of the persons on this show now.
He's been great. And, Tony, I'm so... true friendship is when you can be happy for somebody else, and dude, Matthew
awesome.
and I are just so happy for you. You got to experience that with Mark Wilson, no less.
Yeah, man, another friend of the show.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
And as a kid growing up in Wisconsin, I mean, we were poor. We didn't have a lot. And I was a big Bart Starr fan. Bart Starr was there at halftime. And I would have never dreamed as a little kid growing up in Wisconsin I'd ever have a weekend like that. So it was awesome. Hey, listen, let's move on to our guest here. We have him on the line. We want to welcome to the show Dr. Devon Smith. Devon is an ordained minister in the Wesleyan Church, the director of the online learning at Oklahoma Wesleyan University, where he oversees all facets of the online learning programs. This oversight includes over 200 classes, 2 master's programs with 3 more in the works, cross-training, an online ordination program for pastors in the Wesleyan Church. Devon's been teaching online for the past 8 years and has taught for 3 universities and has been faculty of the term fall from 2010 to spring 2011 at Oklahoma Wesleyan University. He also serves as a Sunday school coordinator for a multi-site church. Devon has had articles published in Crosswalk as well as his dissertation, which was entitled Methods Pastors Use in Order to Present the Good News. Devon, welcome to the show.
Hey, it's good to be here.
Yeah, so I do understand in our pre-show that while you lived in Iowa, you gained an appreciation for the Packers.
I would say yes, a Packer backer. Yep. And I wish I would have known that you were going to wear that hat. I'd have worn mine just like yours. I have one in my closet.
I almost wore my cheese head today.
You did?
But I didn't.
Listen, I saw plenty of cheese heads this past weekend. All right, listen, Devon, why don't we start by talking about your responsibilities as the director for online studies. Just give our listeners and our viewers a sense of what that entails.
As far as, well, we have 7 programs that are online right now, and Oklahoma Wesleyan is a growing university. It's been fun to be a part of it. When I started 4 years ago in this position, we had 70 online students, and I think we're over 450 now, just online alone in 4 years, and so it's been tremendous growth. And so we do have 2 master's programs. We have 5 different divisions represented, from business, school of business, to school of religion. We have arts and sciences. We have a psychology program, and then we have the education program as well. You mentioned the cross-training, which has been a really awesome opportunity for us to reach out to those pastors that sort of live on the fringe, or maybe they're in rural communities and they can't make it into the urban settings, or they just don't make the time. They don't have the time. They don't have the money. Some of them are bivocational and they just can't get up and get out of there. So we've offered all of our ordination-specific programs in the Wesleyan Church to them online. It's a continuing education. It's very reasonable prices, and about 2 years have been doing that. We've gone to 177 students right now that are taking online classes, just this modality. Wow. So it's really been fun to watch it just explode. And that number that I quoted, 450, doesn't include the cross-training students. So if we did that, we'd say almost 650 students we service on the online program. So it's been awesome.
So go ahead, Tony.
Well, I just want to say, let's talk about the cross-training program a little bit here. You say it's affordable. You and I met back in June, and give our listeners the price of that, because I think it is so reasonable.
Yeah. Sure, yeah. Any Wesleyan pastor that's seeking ordination in the Wesleyan Church, they've said you have to have 22 classes to be ordained. It's not as rigorous as the Methodist Church, and so those would know it, but it's $130 per class. And what we've done is in education, there's a pedagogy and andragogy. Pedagogy is how traditional students learn. It's sort of this lecture type style. Andragogy would be how adults learn. And so, you facilitate it. And so the cross-training took all that together, put and put it in a 3-week content. Now it's compressed, don't get me wrong. But what we try to do is to model the flame modality, where they would come for 2.5 days, take a class, come for another 2.5 days. So it's $130 and 3 weeks long. There's one class that's 4 weeks long, but it's all doable.
Mm. Yeah, very, very affordable. What were you going to say, Heath?
It's a really good question. So you're talking about that you had 450 online students. What's the comparison between traditional students at Oklahoma Wesleyan compared to the online program? Are you aware of those numbers?
Here's what I do know. The traditional campus is roughly, I think I don't remember, it's like 648, 678, something like that, traditional students. And so the online program is 450, but we have what's called traditional program and then AGS, which is adult and graduate studies. Yeah. And there's adult and graduate studies. This is really cool. We were projecting, and a shout out to our enrollment team. They're just going crazy, and it's awesome. But we were projected to hit, I think, 622, and we hit 731 in August. Wow. Total online on ground for the traditional program. So our traditional adult, I'm not traditional, but our adult program. So our adult program is taken off, and we do have some ambitious goals to continue to grow that.
Now, you said go through again the online degrees that are offered at Oklahoma Wesleyan.
Yeah, we have a business program, organizational management and ethics. We have religion, the ministry and leadership program. We have a psychology program. We have an education program in early childhood, a master's of education. We have a master's in business. And we have a STEP program, which is designed for students, or that maybe they took one college class or they took no college classes, and it's the STEP program that allows them to go from no credits to an associate's, and then associates to their bachelor's level.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, I'm curious about you talked about, was it business, ethics in business? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I would imagine that's not a degree or an area of concentration that you would just find at every college, the ethical part of this thing.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. In terms of ethics, the church would take that very seriously, and Christian institutions would.
Right. Well, interesting enough, we have found that there are some secular schools that talk about ethics, but I love listening to Rabbi Zacharias. Because Rabbi Zacharias was, just real quick, he was quoting Enron, and he was asked by a journalist, and I like his podcast, but he was asked by a journalist of, what do you think about Enron? And he said, you know what, I'd really like to ask another question of the professors. Why aren't you indicting the professors? The professors tell them in the class to do whatever you want to do, so when they go out in the world and they do whatever they want to do and they get in trouble, they do something wrong like Enron, why are you getting in trouble? Why are you getting the students or the people in the classroom in trouble? Why not go to the professors that tell them you can do whatever you want to do? So what we try to do is we try to merge, the Christian worldview within that. And so it's not just ethics to do what's right. It's based on the Lordship of Jesus Christ.
Yeah, exactly. A base and a theology that informs the way that I would conduct myself out in the business world. Hey, take a moment to talk about, so if someone was listening to this podcast and you've piqued their interest about online learning, maybe get a little more detail as to comparisons, contrast, the similarities and the differences between online learning and traditional learning, classroom learning.
Yeah, I mean, that's a real good question, and I get that a lot. And now that online education has taken off, it's no longer seen as a bad thing. If you remember, what, 5, 7, 8 years ago, online education was seen as something that's sort of removed. It's not really learning that takes place. It's something else. And so we've sort of moved from that. Well, I really fell in love with the online program when hold your ears here, I had actually started a Nazarene church just for about 2 years and came back to the Wesleyan church. Dr. Pence, he was the GS, he said, "Welcome back, Devon. Glad you're back." So that's kind of neat to come back. But anyway, as I came back, but I had to take, I had everything that's necessary for an ordained elder in the Church of Nazarene except for the Nazarene history and polity. And that was through another school. So I took it, and I was shocked at how much learning took place in that classroom with just 4 or 5 other students and the instructor just learning together, working together, and wrestling with concepts. Because the way I look at it is, in a traditional classroom, not everybody's going to talk. You know, the quiet people, right, the introverts, they don't really talk. But man, you talk about, if you can crack that open, all of a sudden you find out that they start to talk and they really have something to say. So, but in the online environment, it forces them to talk. And so you have concepts and you have ideals and you have shared ideas and that sort of thing that come out in the classroom. And so what happens, people ask me this all the time, well, tell me what the classroom looks like. You know, what does it look like? And really what it is when you log into a LMS or learning management system, you basically have your discussion forums, you have your assignments, textbooks, those sort of things are there, and each program does a little different, each school does a little different, but the essence of it is all the same. And so the discussion posts would seem similarly like you would go a discussion post, say like you were learning how to fix your car, or you had some questions of what that looked like. You would do a discussion post and you'd read those. That's exactly what it looks like, but you center on a topic, and the topic is centered on the objective of the week. And so what happens is we require students to log in and post by a certain time every week, so we try to keep continuity and format and that sort of thing. And so what happens is the students log in and they are able to have a conversation all week long, and the great thing about it is they can go back to previous weeks as well, and they can also have those continued conversations. So it's really the best of both worlds in the classroom, because this is one thing I love about the online classroom. It doesn't stop. It doesn't sleep. And so you might have a student that comes home late from work, and they can still post and be in on the conversation, and you can still read what they're saying.
Right. So how does the ordination program, the cross-training, is it the same environment, the same structure as the other online classes? How would that work?
Yeah, exactly. The difference is it's 3 weeks long. And the other difference is because the online cross-training or the ordination track is not, it's not an academic rigor in the sense that we can count it for college credit. Right. But the same instructors teach it. It's pared down a little bit. We can't require an APA format or MLA or Turabian, whatever school does. We do APA at Oklahoma Wesleyan. And so what happens is, even though that's pared down, but the academic, the learning, and man, what I love about it too is the more and more that I guess live, if you will, and watch our culture change and deteriorate, and however you call it, and watch the Wesleyan Church still raise that banner of truth and of holiness, the more excited I get to be in the classroom of Wesleyan pastors. And the way I look at it is, we are training Wesleyan pastors. And when we train the faculty to go in and train Wesleyan pastors, I tell them, don't take it easy with them just because this is a cross-training class. You need to give them everything you got. In fact, in some ways, even more so, because they are condensing all these courses in a 3-week format or modality, and you got to push that through and through. And so they get excited about it. And I think we have some doctorates. We have Wesleyan pastors who are doctorates teaching other Wesleyan pastors, so they see each other. And Jim Dunn, is in charge of spiritual formation. Jim Dunn teaches for us as well. He teaches a couple classes. And first time he taught, I said, "Well, what'd you think? How'd you like that?" And he said, "Well, actually, I've had some of those students in Flame before, so it was sort of a continuity that took place." So he had that relationship with them. So I think it's really cool. Like, we have Jeremy Summers that teaches for us, and again, he does the education part of it. So we've got. And we have district superintendents that teach for us as well. So I really think we're able to pull all these guys together in an online format that's unprecedented from the Flame or from continuing education. I really think it helps to educate them. I love it. It's really awesome.
Well, let me
Devon, I wonder if a student went through the cross training, and let's say 4 or 5 years down the road, they said, "You know what? I'm going to go to Oklahoma Wesleyan and get my degree." Do you guys take any of that previous work and kind of work with them to make accredited work, or is that just something you can't do?
Yeah, you can't do it because it's continuing education, and we've pared it down. But we are careful to tell them before they before they sign up for this program, hey, I understand money is an issue, but just know this, that if you do choose to change this in 4 or 5 years, you're not going to be able to. And they understand that. So we sort of get it, off.
Yeah. Now, if I'm not mistaken, to go through, because we've got some guys in our church that have looked into the cross training, and I think to go through the whole program is right around $3,000, which is about what books cost for a semester at most schools. But you can go through the whole program, and I think if you started tomorrow and you went straight through, what's the time frame it would take to get all your ordination requirements for somebody?
Yeah, what we're doing, and we hope to accelerate that, but what we've done is when we first started, we kind of felt like we had a pulse on what was going on in the church. We weren't really positive, but we kind of felt like people wanted to do this. And what we discovered was that we had to start offering concurrent courses. So we started out with one course every 3 weeks and take a week off. We try to send them the syllabus a week or 2 weeks beforehand so they can get the books and be reading and be ready for class. But what we found was it was so popular that we went to 2 classes concurrently, and if we continue the trend we're on, we'll be able to go 3 classes concurrently. So Heath, to answer your question, right now it's set up that if you don't mess around and you take a course every time it's offered, our goal is within 2.5, maximum 3 years, you'll have all the courses necessary for ordination. But with the accelerated format, you can kind of hodgepodge, pick those, take 2 classes at a time. I mean, it'll be hard pastoring, but you could conceivably bump that up more.
Yeah. To me, the cross training program, I mean, it's this big excuse remover for the guys who maybe just need 1 or 2 ordination classes, and they've been putting it off and putting it off. Like, to me, it's just like, you don't have to travel anywhere. You can get ordained in your pajamas. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I just love what you guys are doing.
Yeah, First Church of the Elmo.
That's right.
One of the things that I think is really cool, I heard 2 stories, but one story I want to tell specifically, and I don't know the names, and I don't know if they're listening or not, I don't know, but this guy he and his wife were at a football game, and something tragically had happened, and he had basically had to put his ordination on hold, and the coursework of it, and so he put it on hold, and well, as soon as the cross came online, he called me on the phone and he said, I just want to thank you. He said, I have not been able to do anything for the past 3 years because I've had to take care of my wife. He didn't tell me what the accident was. I didn't ask him any questions, but apparently it affected him in a big way. But he said, now I can fulfill the call God's placed on my life. Thank you for offering this. Yeah. And man, I just want to weep because, it takes a lot of work to get this on. It takes, to train the faculty, get them staffed, to find the district superintendents and to do the faculty and the training, all that stuff. And my assistant Patty is awesome. She is just she's phenomenal to help the students feel like they're loved, and we try to do everything we possibly can. But we hear stories like that all the time of people that Heath, to your point, they just couldn't do it for whatever reason. And $130. I mean, people come to me and says, I don't have $130. My response is, if you go to a couple people in your church and ask them, they will sponsor you so that you get the education. And the way we look at it is, we're not settling for the faculty. I refuse to settle. God placed me in this position. I take it seriously. I respect that. I honor that. I want to honor the Holy Spirit as He moves in their lives. I want to make sure we got the best of the best teaching them. So I'm passionate about that.
Yeah, and Devon, let me just piggyback off of what you said. I encourage local churches, if you have someone who it's apparent to you they're gifted for ministry, then I challenge local churches to take on some of that financial responsibility. And you guys, my understanding is you guys are making very little to nothing off this program. You are offering it as a service to the church. So our hats off to Oklahoma Wesleyan University, because it is a service that, well, the story you just told of this gentleman who's taking care of his wife, I mean, at the end of the day, that erases a lot of frustration, in terms of getting the program set up and things of that nature. It's very rewarding when you hear stories like that.
Hold on, your hat is still on.
Listen, I don't know if a lot of our viewers, our regulars especially, probably understand by now that when we do an interview, we send questions ahead of time, and that way our guest isn't caught off guard. And I sent you questions, and you responded back yesterday. And one of my questions, on the thing is, hey, talk to us a little bit about where you see education going in the future. And you responded back to me to say, hey, these are great questions, but there's something I'd really like to work in here. You are very excited about this what can happen at the local church. Why don't you take some time and just unpack that?
Yeah, I appreciate giving me the opportunity to share that. So it really stems from a testimony. Believe it or not, and I'm just being honest, I understand that there's no pride keeps us from the kingdom and keeps others from the kingdom. So I was actually at a church planning. I was asked to be a part of a church planning director for a specific district, and I'm at this hotel, and man, just temptation just hit me out of the blue. And I've heard of other guys being on the road traveling and temptation hit them, and I thought, well, I don't know what that's like because I'm not really on the road. If I am, it's just for a couple of days. And so I was at this convention, and man, and the enemy hit me hard, and I even had to walk out of my hotel room and have them turn off everything, so just to remove temptation. And at that time, I thought to myself, if I had a place to go, where would I go? What would I do? How could I reach out to my brothers at 2 o'clock in the morning? I can't call them. I mean, some I could, but what could I do to get online and learn and grow? And that sort of germinated this thought. And so when God moved me into this program, and I missed the local church, I see it as an opportunity to help train up pastors in the local church. So I praise God for the opportunity to be here. But it all kind of came together in the online program. See, discipleship, we know, doesn't happen from Sunday from 11 to 12, and from Sunday school, and from Wednesday night from 6 to 7. Discipleship happens 24/7 in any venue you can. And so what I'm learning is, if we as pastors can sort of harness this power of the online education, and we can offer a 12-week discipleship class, or our small groups meet online. So we could meet during this blended format. So you can meet offline, and you could go your small group on Sunday night or whenever you meet as a small group. But then you can also offer this online, so you can log back in and maybe engage in some more questions and some more conversations. And you can do that just more than just the 7 to 8 hour on Wednesday and whatever on Sunday. And so what I found out was, okay, that's great. And so how could we do that? But are we going to be able to afford the Blackboards and the Desire to Learns and all those LMSs that we could use? Because they can be kind of pricey, because they're basing that other organizations are going to charge enough to pay for them, and that's part of our fee actually online is for the technology. But Moodle is a free open source opportunity. In fact, I even played around with it on a website and uploaded a website and was teaching a class. You mentioned earlier in my bio, I'm able to be at a multi-site church, and so I was able to sort of roll that out a couple years ago and look at it. And what I found out was that not only are all those opportunities available online and 24/7, and you engage people, but you can engage people on their learning style. And so it takes work, yes, on the administrative ends, but I was thinking as a pastor, if I wanted to offer a discipleship class, instead of having them come back every Sunday for Sunday school time or whatever, Tuesday night or whenever I'd offer it, what if I create this 12 to 15 week discipleship class, and I pair them online, and they have to log online, they have to read, and so I'm interacting, and people think, oh, well, there's not as much interaction going on. Well, as I've already explained, there's a lot of interaction that takes place online. You're connecting to the pastor, you're hearing stories, you're watching videos, you can do video chats similar like we're doing now. You can log on at Wednesday night or whatever it would be, or Friday night, log on for this, or watch this post of this video, or you can upload sermons from 5 years ago, or that's too old, but a year ago. The possibilities are endless. You could have Rabbi Zacharias in there, you could have Mark Batterson in there. Wow. Whoever these guys are doing this stuff, you could have them watch these videos and then comment on these videos. And then when you come back to your regular time, then you can unpack it and say, okay, how God's working in your life now. You name any discipleship program. You want to do an evangelism program? Get it online. You want to do how to study Greek, how to learn, Rosetta Stone's there. I mean, the possibilities are endless. And when I bump into pastors, and one thing they're struggling with is discipleship of their people and engaging them. People are online all the time. And let's face it, we've seen the statistics. the tablets are taking over. People are sitting in front of watching the Redskins Green Bay game on their tablets, on their computers, you know, and they're kind of coming in and out. Well, why not leave opportunities for the church to begin to engage people on those levels? Why just take all this technology? And so I feel like I don't even know what that is, like that bubbling up inside of my spirit is saying, okay, what can we do? How can we offer this? What would it look like? Because I understand you got administrators, but I don't know if it starts working from the larger churches or even the district office open up this opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that we're trying to do is we're trying to create this awareness that ministry takes place beyond, and we know that, beyond just the opportunities the church provides. Why not be a 24/7 church?
Yeah, brother.
I wasn't aware that Moodle was a free service. So if someone wanted to explore with Moodle, where could they begin?
Oh man, that's great. Well, you have to have you have to have an IP address. I mean, you have to have a website, whatever it would be, and then you would basically go to Moodle, open source, and Moodle has pretty much training videos of how to do that. You have to upload it to your browser, but really, I mean, I've learned to become tech savvy, but when I first started, I just sort of pushed my way through it. But I'm telling you right now, there are Moodle geeks out there. I mean, there are people to be found in your community that would love to do something like that. Yeah.
One thing we've talked about on the show before is there's this thing out there called Khan Academy, where this guy just has posted videos and has millions of views just teaching educational things, and we were like, man, wouldn't it be great if we had Khan Academy for discipleship? And so exactly what you're talking about. I mean, we're past that. It's like we're past that point in history where the church has to be a gathering place for spiritual learning to take place. Like we've gone from, you've got 3 hours a week to literally, you can post this stuff and it be available 168 hours a week, that people would have it at their fingertips to grow in their relationship with Christ, to learn more about His Word. And it's just exciting stuff, man.
Devon, something I would love is, because this is an area and a passion with you as you continue to go on this path, if there are some real ahas or breakthroughs and stuff like that, we would love it if you would contact us, and you know, maybe we could just bring you on the show for 5, 10, 15 minutes. It might be something that's just a real breakthrough in that area. Now, I've worked with Moodle, and so I understand exactly what you're saying. I've had it as a student, and Moodle will allow you to post PDFs, videos, things of that nature, and then you also can dialogue with other people in that class. But yeah, as you go down that trail, any advice you can give us or any resources, we would really appreciate that and love to pass it along to our listeners.
Yeah, and as I look into it, and the more pastors I talk to, they're not opposed to it. It's more, just another thing to do. Yeah. And I don't look at it another thing to do. I look at it as, man, you're sitting in front of your computer. Honestly, okay, Tony, answer this question. How much time is spent by pastors in front of the computer?
Too much.
I mean, just playing around. You know? Yeah. We're hopefully we're doing something here, right? By being together and getting the word out. But I mean, they're on the computers anyway, and you can say what you want to say, but man, when you realize discipleship happens and you have the story that I just told you just come at you from your people in your church. I was down and out, I was struggling, I was in a hotel, I logged into the discipleship class, and the Holy Spirit really spoke to me, and I memorized a scripture verse, and you know, it just goes on. And so I'm sort of in this beginning phase, but you know, just you talking right now reminded me, well, we probably have specialists on the South Carolina district that can do stuff. We've got specialists in other places. Why not harness them in a similar way and say, okay, so for this discipleship, we've partnered with whoever from whatever school, and they're going to offer this for 12 weeks, and they're going to sort of get it together, and they're going to do discipleship in your local church, and we have 50 people that can sign up, and the first 50 in the district do it. I mean, we're helping disciple. Awesome. And it's, you know, are we going to pay them? I mean, these guys are doing it anyway. I don't know. Maybe I'm objective.
No, it's good. It's good stuff. You're brainstorming. I mean, Asbury has Seedbed, which they're kind of doing this, but Seedbed is more offering resources than a full-blown discipleship program.
Yeah. I mean,
it's good stuff. It's a good challenge.
Yeah, I'm teaching evangelism now for the traditional campus, and in fact, I got to teach after I finish up here. And one thing I learned about, I mean, John Wesley talked about, if you're not going to, if you're going to wake them up and not disciple them, that's his way of bringing them to Christ. Don't do it. They're better off if they're asleep than to wake them up.
Wow.
And I realized a lot of church, man, we do really good about talking about evangelism and bringing people to Christ and giving people the tools, but we're not very good about discipleship.
Wow. Well, Devon, where can our listeners find you on the internet? Where can they find out more about Oklahoma Wesleyan's programs?
Yeah, they can go to, I'm on Twitter, and they can go to Dr. DrRevDev, Dr. RevDev, or they can find me on Facebook at Devon Smith, and I'm in the Tulsa area. I think they can find me through the group's Tulsa area, and they're more than welcome to get me on Twitter. You want me to get my email address? They can get me at dsmith@okwu.edu, and I'll be happy to share district. We've got some pretty creative things we're doing with cross-training now with other districts about a blended format we're working on. So we've got a lot of great things we're trying to do.
All right, Devon, thanks so much for taking time out of your schedule. And our listeners don't know, but you were a real trooper. We had some issues, and we had you scheduled earlier, and you were great about it and just rescheduled. So thanks so much, man.
Hey, my pleasure. Thank you so much. Take care, guys. God bless you.
Yep.
All right. Blessings on you. Bye-bye. Yeah, Heath, the biggest part of that interview, everything he said about online, I think that's all informative, but he is clearly onto something with this whole discipleship piece.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about it before. I can't even remember the name of it. It's like it's Netflix, but it's discipleship videos and conference videos, and your church has to pay. It's a subscription based. I think it's Right Now Media. And I think about something like that is paid. Man, what if you could offer something like that for free? And I'm telling you,
well, and then also, part of his vision is that maybe what you're doing is it's partnerships. So it's not just the local church, but it's the district and the local church working together. You may even bring in an educational institution. So in our context there in South Carolina, it's a three-way partnership: local churches, the district, Southern Wesleyan University, where you're creating these discipleship resources. And I love Devon's openness about, he's at a motel, he's feeling tempted so much so he shuts off all the media and he leaves the room for a little bit. And one of the beautiful things about online, it's 24/7. Yeah. And you have access to something immediately.
I just think that in the culture that we live in, you think about this. We were talking about this at a church meeting last night, how a lot of churches are going away from Sunday night service and really encouraging families to spend time together. Well, let's say you got a mother and father, and it's 8 o'clock, 8:30. They've put their kids to bed, and then the mom and dad can go online and go through a discipleship course together. For me, most Sundays, I teach a Sunday school class. My wife teaches a Sunday school class. Very rarely are my wife and I in the same discipleship opportunity. For me, something like that would be just mind-blowing and just life-changing. So, Tony, get on that. Well, you're not doing anything right now.
You've hit a big thing here, Heath, because, Matthew faces the same thing. I face the same thing, where our spouses, we're all doing things. One of the things that we have done, I have an Audible subscription, and there have been times I've been tempted to cancel it because it's, $15 a month, but I continue to keep it. And Sherry and I share that account, and part of my desire is that we are reading some of the same things. That we're both being fed by the same stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You make a great point.
Ashley and I find ways to do that too. We've listened through whole series together, preached by other pastors. Yeah. It's fantastic.
I've tried to do that with Karen. She's just not a big fan of comic books.
But oh my
word.
Well, on that
note,
right, how about we get to the download of the week? Yay! All right. Well, go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is something that you stumbled along called a Tangled server, Untangled server. And so talk to our listeners about it and some of the benefits to this.
Yeah, this is a tool that we've been using on our district level, at our campground, and also at my local church level, as well as a few others. Essentially, Untangle is it's an operating system built off of Linux. And you take the OS and you install it on an old computer. I've installed it on an old Pentium 4 computer with like a gig of RAM. And you have the ability then to add a web filter to your entire network. So what that means for us is that on your computer you can put like there's K9 web browsing software. We've talked about Covenant Eyes and others that are web filtering, but those are computer specific. What Untangle does is it sits right at the point that the internet comes into the building. And so everything travels in and out of it. It's not 100% perfect. It doesn't catch everything. But what it does is it monitors that, and then it'll even generate a report and mail it to you. So that becomes a little bit of a interesting scenario, because there have been occasions where we've found resources used inappropriately, and then it means that there's follow-up on that. And of course we always try to offer grace to people and do everything that we can to work redemptively in the life of somebody, but it's so helpful in that. It also has a bunch of other tools that you can use as you if you're into network administration. There's professional levels of this. Some of the tools, they are meant for big corporations and big things, and they do cost money. But everything that I've ever used with them is free. It doesn't cost a dime. There are other options of tools like this. I know that there's software called pfSense. There's another one called ClearOS. And they all are similar in what they try to do. However, I've found that for our needs, the two biggest needs at our campground and our local church is, number one, having web filtering, and number two, letting people know that there's web filtering. I don't want to ambush somebody to where they're coming onto the church property and thinking that everything's hunky-dory, and then all of a sudden you show up and you're like, hey, here's this. So built into Untangle is what's called a captive portal, that essentially what it does is when you try to access something on the internet, before you can do that, it brings you to this page that says, hey, you're here, this is monitored, you do something you're not supposed to do, and we're going to know about it. So use it responsibly. It's just as a way to keep you accountable. And then you have to agree to it. There's a little box. You have to check the box, and you have to hit the button. And it basically then licenses you for the day, where that 24-hour period, you're able to use the internet, do whatever, but knowing that there are eyes behind what's happening.
Right.
And what's nice too is I've seen this at the camp level or at our campground level, and it bores down to the very computer, so you're not left to wonder, I've got 100 people accessing the system. I wonder where that inappropriate hit came from. It takes you right to the person and to the computer where it was accessed.
There are definitely ways of knowing exactly what's happening. Now, there have been occasions when there have been one or two things that we haven't been able to pinpoint specifically, but I've had just a handful. I mean, thankfully fewer than I can count on one hand occasions where I've had to, and Heath, you were a part of this one time in a conversation in regards to somebody where we talked about, okay, what do you think the best way to address this and to offer grace in this situation, and we're going to do it. Tony, you've been a part of stuff like that too. So I bring it up both for churches, but also for parents, for homes. There are so many old computers laying around somewhere. I guarantee you.
In here, you can go in the
studio. You can go to Goodwill and find an old computer that would probably run this software.
Absolutely.
It's not the easiest thing. You're going to need a little bit of computer chops to be able to get it.
If you, in an action flick, are shooting up a bunch of zombies and you utter his name as a profanity, then hey, that's a PG-13 rating. But if you're in a real-world tragedy and you're talking about his love and forgiveness, well, then that deserves an R rating. I mean, the evidence speaks for itself. Jared O'Flaherty, director of the Christian film My Son. Source, Gin Fringe.
We're going to hold him to his word. We will send President Rouhani 1,000 letters every week until Pastor Saeed is free. Jordan Sekalo of the American Center for Law and Justice, who's heading up a campaign to see Pastor Saeed freed from an Iranian prison. Source, CBN News.
Control Center, retooled notifications, redesigned calendar, and improved Siri functionality, alongside numerous other tweaks and thinner typography, will soon be a mere download away. In order to take advantage of the update, you'll need an iPhone 4 or later, iPad 2 or later, iPad mini, or 5th generation iPod Touch. Tech blogger Billy Steele reporting on the release of iOS 7 tomorrow. Source, Engadget.
Our deepest life message often comes out of our deepest pain. I can endure pain if I see a purpose in it. But sadly, most people squander their suffering, don't profit from their problems, never learn from their losses, and are unable to advance from their adversity or gain from their pain. Rick Warren, in his most recent sermon series entitled, Never Waste Your Pain. Source, Christianity Today. All right, let's jump to the top here. I'm not quite sure what to think about this. I mean, you got from what you read, Heath, that O'Flaherty feels like that the R rating was given this movie because of the Christian content.
Right.
And so at first it really got my attention, but then I looked at the official trailer. Hey, Tej, were you able to download that?
Yeah, I'm going to be playing it in the background while we talk in hopes that that won't catch us for any sort of copyright infringement. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, when you look at the trailer, there are some scenes with guns in there and scenes with gunfire, and it looks. I mean, the weapons are assault weapons, so we're not talking about the old hunting rifle or anything like that. So I'm not quite sure. I think that maybe because of the guns and the violence, that perhaps it's earned its R rating. I don't know if you have an opinion on that, Heath, or if you've been able to see the trailer or anything like that.
No, unfortunately, this is my first time seeing the trailer. I do think. Let me just say this: any parent that uses the rating system to determine what movies your children watch, that's crazy, because it's almost like a boxing judge. I mean, it is such a I don't even, what's the word? I mean, there are some movies, if you go back to the 80s, there are movies that were PG then that would be rated R now. And I mean, there are some movies I've watched that are PG-13 that should have been rated R. I mean, one of the criteria they use is, well, if you say the F word more than once, then you're going to get an R rating. And so it's little things like that. Like, you really have to go into there. A lot of times there's no rhyme or reason. There you saw right there the assault weapon in the in the movie right there. And so that's the thing, is movie ratings, there's really no rhyme or reason to them. I do think that Mr. O'Flaherty, obviously, hopefully he's made a good film and it does well, and this is not going to hurt his publicity at all.
So
yeah, no, listen, dude, you make a great, I hadn't even thought, you make a great point here that from a parental point of view, we just need to be engaged enough to know what is the movie and what's about, what's the content.
And like I remember I used to get, this was me in my teenage years, getting up in arms with my parents a little bit over movie ratings. Like there were times when I was like I felt like I was a teenager when the movie Saving Private Ryan came out.
Yeah.
I was very interested.
Yeah.
I remember being very interested in that film. And now I've since seen it.
Yeah.
And like I can tell you, it absolutely deserves that rating, but I don't think that it's a bad thing.
Right.
It would be weird. It would be weird in that movie if things weren't portrayed the way that they were.
Yeah.
Even and this would, you know, rub my mom and dad the wrong way a little bit, and maybe others too. Like, even the language that's used in that film, they're not over the top in that. They're being very realistic about the way things would have been. Now, on the flip side of that, there are some times when some of the stuff is senseless. Like, there is no there's no reason to have to go to this length to use these words. You're just doing it because for the shock value of it. So you're right. It is like the movie rating thing is not. You can't just take it at face value. You got to know, okay, what are we dealing with? What is this about? How does it?
Because I know as a parent that we have watched we've started watching PG movies with our kids and have not gotten through them just because just a lot of inappropriate things. And even, I mean, it's so sad, even on television today and movies geared toward children, they drop in so much innuendo or something that's above a kid's heads, but it's almost like a wink at the adults that are watching.
Almost like it is. So that's another fun thing. Like, it's been amazing to see some of the things that I saw as a child, and I was like, I did not get that.
But
I sure get it now, and I can't believe that was in there.
Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, just a good point there, Heath. Real quick, the story about Pastor Saeed, we covered this about 6 to 8 weeks ago. If please, this is the only thing I want you to do. Follow the link here. It'll take you to the CBN story. Embedded in that story, they have another link. They have made this very easy for you to sign a letter that will get to where it needs to be. So if we could encourage you, we're not always not activists very much on this show, but this is a worthwhile thing. This man has dual citizenship, United States and Iran. He has been jailed unjustly now for several months. And so take time out, go to the link, read the story, and sign the letter, please.
He's even dropping it in the chat room for the people who are with us live right now. So definitely go do that.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so iOS 7 comes out tomorrow. And the quote that you read.
And this whole deal about having to have a certain iPhone or iPad, that's not true, Heath. You could get iOS 7. I mean, you can just have the software. I mean, you could have it anywhere. You actually technically have it downloaded on your laptop. You can't do anything with it.
Right.
I'm making a stupid joke.
I've heard.
There are a few things that excite me about iOS 7. So if you watched Apple's demonstration, I mean, some of the main features you've already seen by Apple. One is that you scroll from the bottom of the phone, and they have these. It's just quick access to things. So internet flashlight on and off, Bluetooth, flashlight, lock screen. I think that looks like a great.
That
feature.
Is a jailbreak tweak that's straight out of a jailbreak. Mod that
really?
Oh yeah, that exact. I mean, you could do that exact thing with different jailbreak tools, and they're like, okay, let's put that in.
So here's what I've heard, and one of the things that since the very first cell phone, the tones, the ringtones, alert tones, alarm tones, they've not changed. Like, and that is one thing that I've heard is very great about the new iOS 7. It's like they wiped the slate clean. It's all new ringtones. It's all new alert tones. I mean, I heard about a guy who wears a Clemson shirt on this show sometimes, and his alarm went off, and it was just a completely different sound, and it caught him off guard and helped him wake up. But so we'll be able to talk about this more after tomorrow.
My daughter came up to me. She had an article, and I can't tell you which website it was, but the whole article was about the new camera app on iOS 7. And she was looking, and she was pointing at different features. And so she's very excited about that. I've never used Instagram. I kind of got the feeling that the redesign on the photo app is, have they integrated like some of the stuff of Instagram, or what's the deal here?
There's ways to do like square pictures.
Yeah, they're trying to make it within the phone where you don't have to use Instagram.
Yeah, and let me be honest, like I do feel like this is going to be, for some people, this is going to be a harsh change. As I've followed what they've done in the development of the betas, you can go read about this. They've really, toned back some stuff. Like The Verge reports about how there was this. The first beta, that thing to slide up from the bottom of the screen to get those quick access things, it said the word slide to unlock, and then there was this little up arrow that was indicating that tray underneath. And the initial reaction was, instead of sliding from the left to the right like we've been used to doing, that was graphically telling you to slide from the bottom up to unlock the phone. And all that's changed. They've made that it's just this little flat line now. They really
you slide out.
Yeah, you slide. If you know what you're doing, you
slide out.
Slide out. Yes, but yeah, it'll be a tough one, especially for those of us who are stuck in our ways.
Yes.
Hey, listen, guys, things are messing up here on my end, so we're getting to the close here. Heath, I'm going to throw it over to you and just let you close this out.
Okay, well, again, we want to thank Dr. Devon Smith for joining us today, and we'll have all the links to their cross-training program in the show notes. Let's talk about what's coming up. October the 1st, we've pre-recorded an interview with Pastor Dave Beaver. We'll be showing that, and just to kind of give you, he chokes me out on that episode. October 27th, Dr. Bob Weitz will be on to talk about his book, The Healthy Church. And then November the 5th, his new book actually comes out next week. I've pre-ordered it, but Mark Batterson will be here to talk about his book, All In. That's November the 5th is when that episode will be shown. And once again, we told you at the top of the show, Matthew DePrez was on with us a couple of weeks ago talking about intergenerational ministry, and you can go and sign up to get his new book completely free at joingenerations.com. I'm Heath Mulliken. You can find me at heathmulliken.com.
I'm
and on
Matthew
Twitter.
TG. Same place, same deal. MatthewTG.com. Tony, who has had to leave us now, is AKC64. Everywhere you want to be.
And if you want to support our show, all you've got to do, we know you shop on Amazon, so before you do that, go to thetechnologyshow.com/shop. Takes you right to Amazon, but gives us a little bit of kickback. You can support the show. And if you want to do further research on anything we've discussed today, you can find all the links to the stories we've covered at our website, thetechnologyshow.com. If you want to contact us, you can send us an email to thetechnologyshow@gmail.com, or please leave us a voicemail at 3049-TEOLOGY. That's 304-986-5649. You can do something great today. Go on iTunes, get on your phone, download this. That helps us out. Give us a 5-star review or 5-star rating. Give us a review on iTunes. Good things will happen to you. Thank you for joining us today. I sense that the Lord will bless you. And we will see you next week right here at the Technology Show.
Goodbye, everybody. Say it, Heath.
Adios.